I'm going to share 6 RV buying tips and considerations specifically for small campers so you can avoid making the same costly mistakes I did. Hi Weekend Warrior family, or if you're new here, I'm Randy, and every Thursday I share tips to help us make every moment count because weekends are just too short. 3 years ago, my husband Tom and we purchased our very first RV. After spending just a few days and nights in this small camper, it became apparent that there were going to be issues that were going to be problematic for us, and this was crushing. So after owning this first small camper for less than 2 months, we took it back to the dealer and traded it in for a little guy Max. But of course the trailer had depreciated in value the minute we towed it off the dealer's lot. So this was a very costly mistake. So what were these big problems with the first camper that made me want to trade it in so fast and take a financial hit? I'm going to share them all with you so that you're armed with the information and the things that I would have considered before I made this purchase. But it's important that you keep in mind that these are the things that did not work for us. Some of our issues may not be problems for you. When I bought my first camper, I was excited about spending time outdoors and enjoying nature. And initially, any amount of indoor hanging out space seemed good to me. But I quickly realized too little space would mean sacrificing on functionality and comfort. The first camper I bought was 11 feet 3 inches in length and 6 feet 6 inches in width. And when I'm talking about overall space, I'm referring to standing space and hanging out room. There were 3 places you could be: standing in front of the stove or sink, sitting in the seating bed area, or in the bathroom. There was enough room for 2 people to stand at one time. But when 2 people were standing, there just wasn't a lot of room to move. So when I was cooking, Tom needed to be in the seating bed area, or doing another everyday task such as changing clothes. Some moving room is needed to take clothes on and off. So when one of us was changing, the other person needed to be seated or outside. What one person was doing affected what and where the other person needed to be, and we were constantly maneuvering around each other. This balancing act became frustrating. Now I know what you're thinking. It's a small camper, so what was I expecting? Until I actually experienced the small space, I didn't realize the limitations. For me, more functional space was going to make a big difference in how comfortable and enjoyable my camping life was going to be. Here is the layout of my little guy Max trailer. It is 18 feet in length and 7 feet wide. We gained 79.5 inches in length and 6 inches in width. The extra space made a tremendous difference in how we enjoy our camper. Our standing floor space doubled, and we're not bumping into each other like we used to before. We can be in the kitchen area, the bedroom, or the bathroom, and now we had one more living space, a dinette area. Now when I'm cooking, I don't need to get out of the way if Tom wants to use the bathroom or just go outside. A big luxury benefit that dinette area provides is a hanging out area for one of us without disturbing the other person while they're still sleeping. It's these moments that have made a small camper more enjoyable. I didn't realize the significant impact overall space would have on functionality until we actually spent time in this camper. I strongly suggest when you're thinking about purchasing a small camper that you actually spend several hours in it and include everyone that would normally be with you. Don't just sit around, but actually perform the activities that you'd expect to be doing. You'll get some more ideas coming up, but it's critical that the camper you buy has enough space for everyone to be comfortable and enough room to do the things that you want to do. And if you have pets, be sure to include them too. My dog Princess is with us on every Weekend Warrior getaway, and while she's small and doesn't take up a lot of space, we have to move around her and she has to move around us. For example, we have just so much floor space, and when her food dishes are on the floor or she's eating, we need to maneuver around her. I wish we had spent more time in this camper before we purchased it. This would have saved us a lot of frustration and money. If you want to see my little guy Max trailer, I'll leave a link to a tour video in the video description below. After spending just a few days in our new camper, I realized that the overall space was functionally too small for us to be truly comfortable. The next problem was interior height. The first small camper's interior height was 5 feet 7 inches, and Tom is 6 feet 1 inches tall, so interior height was a problem. He had to have his head slightly bent forward when standing in the camper, and after a few days of doing this, he realized this wasn't very comfortable. The interior height in the Little Guy Max is 6 feet and 7 inches. Not only can Tom stand up straight, but the tall ceilings make the inside of this small camper seem so much bigger and roomier. Had we spent time in this small camper testing it like we were really using it, the interior height issue would have been noticeable then. Unfortunately, most of the time that we spent in this small camper before we purchased it was just sitting. Before purchasing a small camper, measure the interior height. To be most functional, it should be at least a couple inches taller than the tallest person that will be spending time in the camper. The next issue with the first small camper that pushed us over the edge was the size of the mattress. Yes, small campers probably are going to have smaller beds, but you need to be able to sleep in them. The first small camper's mattress size was 58 by 71 inches. Not a big deal unless you're more than 71 inches long. And you guessed it, Tom is taller. He's 73 inches tall. There were walls at both the head and the foot of the bed. So because Tom is 2 inches taller than the length of the mattress, he had to position himself on his side so his feet could hang over the side of the bed. Can you imagine how uncomfortable this would be to sleep all night in this position? The Little Guy Max has a full queen-size mattress measuring 60 inches by 80 inches. And this is great news for Tom. Not fitting on the bed was a major problem, but there were other inconveniences with the bed as well. The seating area converted into the bed, so each night we had to tear down the seating area and then add the bedding to make the bed. Then each morning, we had to tear down the bed and put the bedding away. This wasn't a deal killer for me, but rather a big inconvenience and a task that took me 15 minutes each day to do. And I don't like making my bed at home. So an extra big Little Guy Max benefit is its separate bed area. As I alluded to before, another inconvenience with the first small camper was our bed schedule. Let me explain. Once the bed was made, there wasn't any other hanging out room if one of us wanted to stay up later, so we ended up going to bed at the exact same time. The same was true if I woke before Tom or he woke before me. There wasn't a place for one of us to go and hang out so that we could leave the other one so that they could continue sleeping. Yeah, that was an inconvenience. Once again, had we converted the seating area to a bed and actually laid on it before we purchased the small camper, we would have realized that the bed just was not going to be big enough for us, along with understanding the inconveniences of not having a separate bed area. Before purchasing a small camper, make sure that everyone can sleep on the bed, including pets if they sleep with you. Have everyone lay on the bed that'll be sleeping there. Is there enough room for everyone to sleep comfortably and keep their feet on the bed? If you toss and turn at night, do this. Move around as if it was a real scenario. Can you do this without disturbing the other person? Getting a good night's sleep is always important because this is how we rejuvenate ourselves, so we're ready for the next day. Making sure that everyone has enough space to get a good night's sleep is vital. Overall space, interior height, and bed size were 3 of the major problems I had with the first camper. Can you guess what the 4th problem was? Let's see if you guessed correctly. Pause this video right now and in the comments section, leave your guess. Then resume this video and see if you're right. Did you guess storage? Yes, the 4th problem was storage. Interior storage was, well, extremely limited. I know small campers can mean small storage spaces, but not having enough storage space just drove me crazy because I don't like clutter. And when there's not a place to put things away, they tend to pile up, especially in small spaces. And I'm not a hoarder. I don't bring things that I don't think I'll need. But there was no way that I was going to have enough room for all the essentials, let alone items like an extra blanket or a towel or 2. Well, you get the idea. I wanted enough space for the basics, and this wasn't going to happen. While I struggled to find a place to keep everything in the first small camper, the opposite is true with the Little Guy Max. For being a small camper, it has more storage than I need on a regular basis. However, when we do go on longer trips, this additional storage is really nice to have for the extra clothing and gear we need. When purchasing a small camper, make a list of all the things that you're going to want to keep in the camper for convenience, such as blankets and towels and bowls and plates, silverware and things like a picnic table cover, flashlights, lanterns, etc. Is there enough storage space to accommodate everything? Then make a separate list of all the things that you plan on packing and bringing with you, like clothes, jackets, or maybe even an extra pair of shoes. Will it all fit? If not, what are you willing to leave behind? Is a bathroom critical? Not all small campers have them. Before I had purchased the first small camper, I had made a decision that a bathroom was a must-have, and this was the best decision for me. Both the first camper and my little guy Max have bathrooms. Obviously, having a bathroom is a big convenience, especially during the middle of the night. But I don't always camp at campgrounds, and I like to boondock whenever possible. And when camping in remote places, there aren't bathhouses or toilets to use. Having a bathroom means I don't have to bring a shovel. My little guy Max has a wet bath, which means I can take a shower in it. Quite frankly, the shower gets little usage. As a weekend warrior, I can just as easily clean up with wipes. Some people have said that they'd rather have extra space over a bathroom. I'm not one of those people. When purchasing a small camper, be very realistic when deciding if a bathroom is a requirement for you. This is a biggie and something that you should not compromise if a bathroom is something that you really want, because this could ultimately be your biggest regret. What are small camper kitchen must-haves? Small campers mean small kitchens. Don't expect to have an oven, but you probably can have a stovetop, sink, and refrigerator. Another consideration is counter space. Actually, this is a big one. Opt for as much counter space as you can, because like storage, you can never have too much counter space. Another kitchen feature that I wouldn't want to go without is a microwave. This is the one thing that I really miss when we're boondocking or we don't have electric hookups. And take into consideration the refrigerator size. The refrigerator in the first small camper was small, and it wasn't quite large enough for 3 meals a day for 2 people for a couple of days. So I'd bring a cooler with for additional cold food storage. The little guy Max has one of the biggest refrigerators I've ever seen in a small camper. This size has been really nice, especially when on a week or 2 long camping trip. This saves us from frequently eating out and hunting for grocery stores. When spending time in a small camper before you purchase it, pretend to make a real meal. Go through the motions. Start by thinking about the amount of food that you'll need. Where will you keep pantry type food? Do you need a pan or a kettle? Where will you keep your cookware? When you have a pan out on the counter, is there enough room to chop onions? You get the idea. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know a lot of people are. So this might be another consideration. Is there enough counter space for a coffee pot? Don't be rushed. Take your time to thoroughly think everything through, because this is how you buy a camper without buyer's remorse. Small campers have so many advantages over the big guys, especially when you buy the right one for you. If you want to learn more about these benefits or help deciding if a small camper is right for you, I'll leave a link to a video that I did that explains everything right up here and in the video description below, so be sure to watch that next. Well, that's it for this episode, and I can't wait to see you next Thursday.